Some books. All right, cool.
So, yeah, getting back to the tell the truth moment.
So I'm Steve back here with Tell Your Truth. We just had to take a quick pause because obviously we're in a beautiful studio in Ada, Michigan. This is equipment that I'm just grateful to have access to. This is not my equipment. I don't even know how to use this stuff. We're literally just going off of a cell phone and a $17 tripod that I got and recording off the video of the phone. But I'm grateful to have Matt and some other people help edit this. But I'm just getting back to Nicholas Paxson with Innerspace as inspiring Tell Your Truth moment. So our show is called Tell Your Truth, and we're going to obviously have a recovery section. This is our first recovery talk in Tell Your Truth. But inside of the Innerspace book, you have a Tell Your Truth section, and this is where Nick can pick back up on the storytelling.
Tell the truth. My tell the truth moment. You know, I have been lying my whole life, trying to protect this facade that everything's fine. Somehow, some way, you're gonna start drinking and drugging normally. I had the police at my house the night before. My parents found out about it, and my mom calls me the next day screaming, hollering. She already knows what's going on. And while she was screaming at me, I don't remember what she said, but what I heard was tell the truth. And I finally told on myself. And she already knew.
Yeah, parents know all the time. They've known for my
know,
whole life.
She was paying my rent for 6 months. I couldn't work. They knew what was going on. But that was a pivotal moment for me. I got to tell on myself and start being honest. And I told the truth that day. I'm like, Mom, I can't stop doing drugs. I can't stop drinking. I wanted to stop, but my mind and body would not let me. You know, against my will, I was doing these things. And I told my mom I'm willing to do anything. And within a week, she found a rehab for me in Grand Rapids. I left the Detroit area and came to Grand Rapids and put my heart into this.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't easy. You know, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way. The only mistake I didn't make was drinking and drugging.
Right. Well, that's all you have to worry about at the time. As long as you don't do that, you succeed.
Yeah.
And I've got like several friends like that, and I'm glad you did. I'm glad you came to Salvation Army. Right.
I didn't want to. I was scared to leave Detroit. I'm like, all right, we're gonna leave Detroit. We're gonna go through the 6-month treatment, and we're coming back home. But once I got out here, my heartstrings were like, Nick, you better stay here.
Right.
I was already plugged into recovery. You know, I was walking the talk, as they say, and thank God I stayed out here because I love West Michigan. I went back to school. This is kind of college town out here.
We're in Grand Valley area. We're both Grand Valley people.
Went back to school, started change careers. I mean, it transformed in ways that I had no idea. And Nick's plan, the gremlin, was, hey, we're going back home after this, and there's nothing back there for me. You know, so I that was part of trusting the process. Nick, listen to anyone but yourself. Mom says, Nick, found a Salvation Army for you in Grand Rapids. Okay, let's go. And then from there, some other people would make suggestions. Hey, maybe you need to go to AA for a while. Maybe you need to try this 12-step stuff here.
Do you remember how long you were in the Salvation Army for?
A year. Yeah, I was done with the program in 6 months, and I was scared to leave because my prior attempts at rehab,
right?
I get out and use the same day.
Yeah, that's very common, and for most rehabs, that's kind of mind. Well, not a lot. Big fan of Betty Ford. Obviously, that's some Betty Ford people, but a lot of rehabs people leave, like literally. Yeah. Well, I think is if they want, you have to want to be there. You have to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't do it for yourself,
right?
Probably not gonna work.
And I was there for myself. I was still in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
You know, 6 months after, 6 months through the program, graduated. They gave me this little certificate. I'm like, man, I don't feel well inside still. I knew that I was still sick inside. So I stayed there an additional 6 months in a transitional house, and I was working, saving money. You know, within a year, I had a house, a job, a bank account, but I still didn't. I felt sick inside still. You know, and I plugged into, my maintenance recovery, and I'm still part of that program. And then right around 2 years sober, man, it's kind of when the magic started.
Yeah, tell me about that experience. that's when you get your biggest spiritual experience. I thought you're one of your major spiritual experiences from your book. It's hard to define
I
this.
like talking about it.
But I like hearing about it, and then hopefully people like listening about it. People that have friends with me that are struggling with addiction, a lot of them agree with it. They just need to hear like people's success stories, like Nicholas Paxson and literally truth. This is like literally truth. Like, there's no fluffiness. This is the truth experience and this spiritual experience, which you believe is making you stay in recovery. Because if it wasn't for the spiritual experience, you most likely would be harder to stay away from stuff.
A psychic change is what happened in 2017. By that time, I'd been 2 years sober, and I don't remember a lot from early recovery, but I do remember one guy, Jesse. He kept saying, "Nick, the same man will drink. The same man will drink." The same. That's all I remember. He just got hammered in it. He'd text it to me randomly, and I didn't understand what that meant. And and I guess my growth and development was very gradual, but at 2017, man, it was sudden.
Right.
And like a white light, profound experience happened that changed my life. And I know that other addicts and alcoholics that have had these spiritual awakenings. And it was beyond my wildest imagination what it was. And there was a catalyst too that led up to this. I was dating somebody and we broke up. So the fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of loneliness.
And I'm proud you didn't go back, because a lot of people, it's so easy to go back to it when you have that fear of abandonment.
Oh, I thought about it. So as her and I are breaking up, I'm hurting inside. I'm like, oh boy, I'm getting into dangerous territory. I'm like, I can't drink, I can't drug. What can I do? So, get on Tinder.
Yeah, where I guess,
I'm
sex addiction.
The best way to get over someone is to get on top of them.
Or get in them. Or get out of it,
and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go out there and serial fornicate. And I heard a little whisper inside said, Nick, that's not the answer. Pima Chadran talks about pain, man, how pain is there to teach us a lesson. And we don't spend enough time in pain because we go from one promise of relief to the next. And we don't ever sit in the pain long enough to learn from it. So I'm like, man, maybe I got to sit in this pain. And it hurt. And the next morning I woke up, the pain was still there. For the first time in my life, I reached out to another fellow recovering alcoholic and said, hey, Greg, I'm hurting inside. I don't know what to do. He's like, Nick, let's meet for coffee right now. Went to the Bitter End coffee shop.
I love that place. That's right next to Grand Valley. Yeah, that was a really cool place.
And it's kind of...
I love the name, too.
Yeah, me too.
It's actually no offense.
The Bitter End.
We gotta, someday there could be a movie on you. But that would be a perfect location.
But the Bitter End, and it's poetic, too, because I feel like it was the end of old Nick. And him and I sat in this coffee shop, and I talked about my problems. I told him my fears, what I was worried about, what I was afraid of, and I had tears coming out of my eye, both eyes, and he was crying too. And at one point, I'm like, Greg, how do you know exactly what to say to me? And he was like, Nick, it's not me, it's God.
Sorry, God.
More.
That's cool. Oh.
So,
it wasn't Greg Sessions, was it?
No. Greg Troy.
Oh, no, sorry about that.
And unfortunately, he went back out, but he was there at the time in my life when I needed him. This guy's very spiritual, he's very honest, and he's very open. And he reminds me of a child, too. Greg and I sat in this coffee shop. It was the first time I ever asked another man for help, and it paid enormous dividends. So I go home that night, and I'm reading a book about spirituality, and it talks a lot about thinking and becoming conscious of consciousness. And I was laying in my bed, and I felt like I got hit in the head, hit in the chest with a sledgehammer. Something inside of me broke, and I even seen a flash in my mind, and my blood pressure skyrocketed, my heart rate was jacked, and I didn't know what was happening. And I went outside to smoke a cigarette because I didn't know what was going on.
I didn't want a cigarette anymore.
Inside, 3 days later, I quit smoking.
Yeah. I
didn't even put any effort into it.
No, but that's the spirit, dude.
It was gone.
Wow, that's wild.
I quit craving cigarettes, man. So I'm sitting on my...
And how many years did you smoke for?
17 years.
That's
and it just went away. And that was another thing I couldn't explain. It went against logic. So I'm sitting on my porch smoking a cigarette, and I looked out, and it was springtime. everything was freshly blooming, and everything I looked like I was in a cartoon, Steve. I couldn't explain what I was looking at, but
It was in a different realm.
yeah, and I could still hear my thoughts, Steve, but they were miles away from me. And even my body was something separate from me. My thoughts, my mind, and my body became something separate of me, and I started existing in another dimension. And I know I must sound crazy.
No, I believe you.
Saying this.
No, people at Betty Ford would believe you 100%. Like,
I experienced it.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And I felt a peace so deep it surpassed all of my understanding. I thought I was losing my mind.
Right.
And in a sense, that is exactly what happened. I lost my old mind and was given a new mind by God. So the next morning, I go to work, and I still got tears coming out of my eyes, and I'm working in a millwright shop, and I'm like, God, please back it off. I have got to work. I couldn't take the peace.
I know.
It was magical, and that went on for almost a month, this euphoria and bliss and ecstasy, and it changed me. And I have done every drug, every combination of drug known to man looking for this.
You can't match it. It's the highest of the high.
The highest.
Yeah, that's you're literally.
It was, dude. It was beyond. It's beyond words. It was an ineffable event. I have never forgotten it, and it's still in me today. But the euphoria and bliss and ecstasy is not that intense, and thank God it calmed down.
Yeah, so else, you're than you consider weird.
I wouldn't even have been able to function.
No.
It was so much peace. I'm like, this is God. Thank you, God, for being here, man. And I think it's because I pursued the spiritual path. And my wife says, Nick, you got that moment because that was what you needed to break you out of the hypnosis that you were in. Not all addicts and alcoholics get those in-your-face white light experiences, but I guess that was what I needed to break me out of it. You know, and unfortunately, those white light experiences, those awakenings will not keep you sober. At first, I thought, I've arrived.
Yeah.
I don't need to do service work anymore. I don't need to pursue these steps and help others. But that's not the case, because that stuff, when I was 3 years sober, thoughts of suicide came back.
Okay.
You know, I had a lot of suicidal thoughts from my first 5 years of sobriety, and finally, they died off. But those are those old neural pathways that are still functional, because for the last 5 years of my addiction, I fantasized suicide. I wanted to die, kill myself. And it took a while for the brain to change, to get those neural pathways out of there. And I don't really think about suicide. I don't want to. But once in a while, the thought pops in there, and I know it ain't me.
Right.
And it's mostly when I'm in a state of powerlessness. When something is going on that I can't control, I don't think drink, I go right to suicide because I'm still sick.
Yeah.
And that worries me a little bit, but I'm glad I'm not thinking about drinking.
Okay.
You know, I've had a lot of people close to me kill themselves, and it is a violent, ugly. It causes so much pain to my father-in-law 2 years ago killed himself. And my poor wife, she didn't know how to handle this stuff, you know. But so yeah, her family has this disease too, and she's still struggling with it. Her dad was her best friend, but her and I got married not long after that, so now I'm her best friend.
That's magical, man. I'm so proud. I'm so happy for you and your wife, man. To me, you guys must peace, love, and joy, and I appreciate your honesty, Nick, and your vulnerability.
Yeah.
I really believe you're going to save some people's lives that could be watching this show that are super down and out. Obviously, we're in Ada, Michigan right now. Speaking of suicide, I'm a big fan of Bonnie Woodward. She created I Understand. It's an organization around West Michigan helping to change the stigma of suicide. I'm definitely going to give her a copy of your book because I really believe it. I'd like to see her distributed in her community.
Sure.
Not promising anything, but I really do think it's a magical read and it would fit well in her I Understand community, your Innerspace book.
You got any tissue?
Yeah, I got here we got this. I know, sorry, man.
That's all right.
No, I appreciate you're emotional, man. Yeah, I appreciate
your
your
honesty.
honesty. I know, you're just doing amazing. You're saving lives, Nick. I believe there'll be great things that somebody can hear this and be impacted by your Innerspace story, so they don't pull the trigger, because obviously life is fragile.
Right.
And once you do that, then there's no turning back. And
Yeah, especially that
Like,
suicide stuff, man.
yeah, like
It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I'm glad I never killed myself because, man, I'm finally comfortable in my skin, and it's ugly.
Yeah.
That suicide stuff, and when it happens, man, I understand that they wanted the pain to end, but it's kind of a taboo topic. Not a lot of people can openly say I'm suicidal right now, because, man, we don't know what to do about it a lot of times. And even when people do go to Pine Rest, like my father-in-law, 3 days later he got out and took his life. So it's ugly and it's taboo, but I think the more we talk about it, the more
it'll break the stigma. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's kind of like what Betty Ford did in 1975 with alcoholism. She helped break the stigma of alcoholism, and I really think that stigma is in the process, at least through I Understand, is getting broken.
Yeah.
And it's just, I can read a little bit. I mean, I've had some pharmaceutical stuff around 2017 that put me in a different dimension, and that gave me suicidal ideation, and I was not a fan of that stuff. And I was in that mindset for 6 months, so I can
I'm glad you didn't kill yourself.
I know, me too. A lot of people are. So and I'm just grateful. Yeah, just grateful to be alive, breathing, and it is a problem, but I'm grateful for I Understand, your book, people that have had that ideation to like come through it and understand that don't do it because it's not worth it. It's your soul, and there's more to this stuff.
You know, speaking of suicide, my mom is she's a normie. She's not an alcoholic or a drug addict, and she's pretty put together mentally. And I remember years ago asking her, I'm like, Mom, have you ever had thoughts of suicide? And she said no. And I'm like, not once in your life you've never thought about it? And she said no, and it kind of made me feel like, oh my God, I'm not right in here. But it's crazy to me that there are people out there that have never thought about it. And I know there are millions who have and do. Think about it, you know? So it's not abnormal, man, to think about suicide.
Especially when you're down and out and you're super low. And everyone goes through ups and flows in life. And if you're like a homeless shelter, no money.
Oh,
nothing.
of course.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain points about like, trust me, I lived in the most expensive part of the country, Naples, and you don't come from money, so you have no money. Where do you go? You go moving to St. Matt's homeless shelter. So it's you see the whole different world, man. But
So I guess my point is it's normal, man, but you don't have to believe your thoughts.
And that's another, it's a genius.
You know what's crazy about suicide? Now, if my mind is saying to kill itself, doesn't it know that it's gonna die too?
I know, right? That's
illogical.
Boom.
It's like a parasite, man, that kills its host, not knowing that it's going to die too when its host dies. You know, so it's chaotic. You know, but I mean, luckily there is a solution, man, to put some distance between us and our thoughts, some space, some inner space.
Exactly, right? Yeah, good thing we go space between the heart and the mind, man, right? And try to get more into the heart mindset.
Sure.
But all right, cool. Pause right there.
Yeah,
that was good. Yeah, that was.